Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and before this video starts, I just want to say something really quick. Basically, I've started a second channel because of something YouTube has implemented, so I've posted a community post about it, but if you haven't seen it, I'll comment it down below and pin it. Basically, everything is going to stay the same, apart from it's going to be one video a day on each channel instead of two on one. So I think the current plan is to have the malicious compliance on this channel, and then the other board on the other channel, and then to adjust over time to see what you guys like the best. So please go and subscribe to the other channel so you don't miss out on any other videos. It's just going to be called Storytime 2 and I'll leave it at the top of the description. Thanks and let's get right into the video. Stop assigning my son homework. Sure, less tutor work for me. A few years ago, I had a side job as a tutor on Craigslist. I mostly focused on basic math all the way to subjects just below pre-calculus. I mostly worked with middle and high school kids. Now, my main method was to go over stuff they are struggling with, assigning them 20 random questions chosen from their math textbook chapters, then have a short quiz on the following week for the materials that we went over. I had a lot of complaints from parents and students about my methods being rather hard, but when they saw how much their math grades went up, they were happy. I only stopped tutoring on the request of the parents, or when the students felt like they are ready to be on their own. There was this one particular student I worked with that made me want to tear my hair out. The lazy dumb kid did not want to put in any work towards his math classes. This guy was one of those stereotypical football team players who were full of themselves. His awful mother was your typical dumb blonde housewife who was very opinionated, believed anything on Fox News, I saw her watching a few times, and also thought she was the center of the universe. This mother originally contacted me asking to improve her son's math grades. On the first day, both the son and the mother treated me like a joke for being shorter than them. I'm 5'2". I showed them that I'm a college student who has been maintaining 3.0 and above on all college level math classes so far, pre-calc to calculus 2, which seemed to shut them up. From the beginning, this guy was completely oblivious to the subject. This guy was on geometry, and it was already into the middle of the term. His last exam score was 49 out of 100, and almost all the things he missed were the obvious things. So I tried to trace back on where he was struggling, and every time I asked him about the subject, his response was, I don't know, or, 4? It took us nearly an hour to go back to the materials from the beginning of the term, and another 30 minutes to get him to understand the most basic stuff. Like I said in the beginning, he was lazy and effortless. So I feel I already had enough with the kid. I still obligated to help him succeed. So I assign him 20 easy homework questions, and told him to solve and study them as I will quiz him next week. A week passes, I go over to his place for another session. To his credit, he did study a little bit on his own and had a better concept of what he was doing. The bad news was it still wasn't enough to make any significant changes to his grades. And he didn't do any of the homework. Therefore, he absolutely bombed my quiz. I was really trying not to show me gritting my teeth in frustration. So we did the whole thing again, where I tried to find out what he wasn't getting at, him responding with obliviousness, etc. This time, I decided to reduce the number of homework questions. Still was doing quizzes though. Few weeks to doing this, his grades started to see a massive improvement. He was happy, I was happy, and his dad came back from the business trip and was pleased to see lazy dumb kids succeeding. The mother was the only person who wasn't 100% satisfied, because she felt I was pushing her son to the limit, to which I reminded her of the improvements. She was constantly dropping in the middle of tutoring, and nagged at my ears to do it her way. I simply took her words with a grain of salt. The kid finally decided to get more serious with the tutoring and his math class. After seeing the improvements, I decided to go back to 20 homework questions. Despite seeing his success, lazy dumb kid started to complain about how he didn't want to do them because it cuts my time on PS4 with my boys, and they need me to succeed in Fortnite and Overwatch. Trying not to die from cringe, I told him his success in gaming won't mean anything in the future, and try to focus on the homework questions, and it'll be over before he knows it, and he can go back to gaming. After I got home that day, I got a text message from the mum. Quote, "OMG, what are you doing with my son? You are drowning him in all this homework. Stop assigning my son homework. He's already getting enough from school." When I tried to reason with this mum, she said, again quoting, "You don't know anything. I am his mother and you should do as I say. Just help him solve no more than 5 questions from each chapter, or else you are fired. And don't even think about helping him solve those questions." I really didn't have anything to lose, so I decided to dance to her tunes. Cue the malicious compliance. So I stopped giving him homework, I stopped doing quizzes, and stopped asking him what he was struggling with. Instead, I just went over what he went over during the class, and only helped him with an explanation of the materials on the chapter. Granted, he was more receptive to the lessons. When it came to solving problems, however, he was lost. I did exactly what the mum said, 5 questions and then leave. Didn't even help him with the questions, just sat on the couch and played Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions on my phone. When he said he was done, I simply graded his work and left. Of course, the kid's grades started to drop again, and everyone was upset. 3 weeks before his finals, I was pulled into a meeting with them, with his dad wanting to know what was going on. I told him I was simply following his wife's rule since she knew better. When she denied it and accused me of ripping them off while doing nothing, I simply showed her angry texts. She went red as a tomato. Kid did a little, "What the?" and the dad was on the fence between apologizing to me and fuming at his wife. He told me he will pay higher rates until the finals, and a bonus if lazy kid gets a good grade. All I had to do was go back to my old methods. Decent dad also made sure his wife won't interrupt our sessions again. She did shoot me daggers with raging eyes, but she was forbidden to talk to either one of us. I am happy to say the kid passed with flying colours, and was even offered a spot in an honours society. He didn't really need me afterward, and I moved on to a few other students before quitting tutoring altogether. I'm glad it was a good outcome, because otherwise, yeah, it would have been a bit weird. But I have to comment on the thing where she said, video games won't help you in future. And you know, people won a lot of money doing video games, so I don't agree with that. Can't answer my questions? Lose a sale. At the time, I was a 21-year-old female in the Navy. I was buying a car while on leave, way back in the mid-70s. My dad drove me to the closest city since I didn't have a vehicle. My ancient car that had already gone through 3 family members had finally died. I had already gotten financing at my local small town bank, who told me to just write a check, and they would finish the paperwork afterwards. Like I said, the bank was in a very small town, and things like that were common. They knew me, and I knew everyone who worked there. I was looking at a really nice car that was only about 3 years old. The dealership had a banner that said, "We will answer your every question, or we can't sell you your next car," or something like that. I talked, or at least tried to talk to the salesman. He only wanted to talk to my dad. Dad kept telling him to talk to me. He tried to convince me that we needed to fill out the paperwork for financing, even though I told him it was already taken care of. He asked my dad what his budget was, and Dad said, "Talk to her," pointing to me. I was ready to walk away right there and then, but I really liked that car. We finally were ready for a test drive. I drove, the salesman in the front with me, and my dad in the back. The salesman would answer my every question by turning around and answering to my dad. Dad and I exchanged looks in the rearview mirror. I turned around and started back to the lot. The salesman, confused, asked my dad why we were going back so soon. I told him that he obviously didn't want to sell to me since he refused to talk to me, so why continue the test drive? When we got back, he kept trying to talk to my dad and convince him to talk sense to the little lady. I said, pointing to his banner, "You won't answer my questions, so you can't sell me a car." He still tried to convince my dad that we would just work something out, just between them. Too bad. I really wanted that car, but he lost the sale. I ended up at another dealership that actually talked to me and bought a nice little 4-year-old car that served me well for several years. Edit. Thanks for the feedback. Just to clarify, this was in the mid-70s and the sexism was par for the course. My dad only supported me because I was always the one out of my siblings that would tear him a new one if he pulled his normal sexist stuff on me. He was a real piece of work who hurt my siblings but left me alone because I knew that I wouldn't keep quiet about it. They are 7, 8, and 9 years older than me. My brother left as soon as he graduated high school for the Marines because Vietnam was a better choice than staying at home. Okay, you've got to be one terrible salesperson to not sell a car to someone who wants to buy it. Like, I don't know the 70s and how sexist they were and everything, but in today's age, if you did that, you would not get any sales. Conn-Artist Salesman. A few years ago, my wife and I just bought a house and were in the market for some new furniture. Not actively searching, but casually. I happened to step foot in a really bad furniture store. You know, the one overpriced, easily breakable, little structure, won't last more than a few years bad deal. I had just left work and drove by myself, and just wanted to pursue their selection, see if there was anything I liked. As soon as I entered the store, the overconfident salesman walked up to me. "Hi, can I help you find anything today?" "No thanks, just browsing." "Are you looking for anything in particular?" "No, just seeing what I can't live without. Thank you though." "Well, maybe I could help you. What style of furniture were you looking for? Maybe a nice new TV?" "Seriously, I don't need anything. I'm just looking around trying to kill some time." "Okay, well, if you need anything, I'll be available." I made one loop through the store, and the creepy salesman practically followed me around the whole time. Reminded me of a former manager of mine, and I hated it. In the one loop, I didn't see one thing that sparked my interest, so I was heading for the door. "Sir!" "What? I mean, yes?" "Will you be making a purchase today?" "No, like I said." He cuts me off. "Will you please explain to my manager why you will not be making a purchase today?" Seriously? You've got to be kidding. I've never had to explain to someone why I wasn't buying anything after being in a store for less than 5 to 10 minutes. Sure, why not? He escorts me to his manager at the other side of the store. In the most condescending tone he could muster, I'm assuming in an attempt to guilt trip me in the most absurd method to not leave without spending some money. "Sir, this is the store manager. Please explain to him why you will not be making a purchase today." "Certainly. Hi manager, I'm not making a purchase at your store for multiple reasons. Number 1, I don't like any of the furniture you have here. Number 2, I was very clear I was only browsing. Number 3, your associate here has been harassing me since I walked in. Number 4, I clearly stated I was just looking and didn't need any help. If I needed some, I would have grabbed him. Number 5, again, your stock is awful and overpriced stuff at that. And finally, number 6, this nonsense of having to explain any of this to you is ridiculous. I will never set foot in this store and will warn all my friends the same if this is your way of conducting business." Neither the sales associate or manager were expecting that response. I stormed out furious. I was already annoyed with the salesman, but I understood it's his job. But having to explain myself to the manager for not buying anything? No. The only logical conclusion I could come up with was the salesman wasn't doing well and was on the last straw and didn't want to lose his job if another sale walked out the door. Regardless, I told the manager exactly how I felt, like I was asked to do. I feel like that's double malicious compliance because I bet the manager said to the salesperson, you need to work really hard, you need to bug the person as much as you can to try and get them to sell. Because no salesperson is that stupid to go up to everyone and be like, oh, what are you buying? What are you buying? I want to sell something. So I feel like the salesperson maliciously complied with their boss and then the customer maliciously complied with them, and it's just a double thing. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.